dimly lit stage. A single bulb glows in the suffocating darkness. The theatre is silent, ghostly, empty.
Theatre has always existed, from originating from prehistoric rituals to religious ritual activity in the Mediterranean basin, to grand amphitheatres in Greece where the poet Thespis, who is credited to be the first actor, recited poetry as if it was from a script. From William Shakespeare's 38 plays, all the way to more modern examples with Christmas shows like Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol that brings joy and emphasises the importance of the Christmas spirit every year. Overall, throughout the many years of its history, theatre has always been an artistic medium that unites people together as one as they experience the extraordinary art form that theatre is, whether as part of the production or as members of the audience. But what happens if the world globally all of a sudden faces a turbulent trauma that leaves no space for socialization, causing raw human interaction to be temporarily a thing of the past? And how does this global phenomenon impact theatre as an industry in a country that was already struggling even before all of this even occurred? An industry overall so deep-rooted in that raw human interaction.
Join me today as we discover together how COVID and the internet has affected theatre in Northern Ireland.
Now, even before the chaos of COVID-19, the theatre industry in Northern Ireland was already severely struggling, with the Lyric Theatre Belfast stating that the pandemic has brought the curtain down on every theatre and arts venue in Northern Ireland, where the industry was struggling to keep its head above water even before the virus struck. Additionally, according to that same official announcement, posted by the Lyric Theatre Belfast on Monday the 1st of June 2020, as a charity, the Lyric receives some public funding, but in the most part relies upon you, our audience, for up to 2/3 of our income through ticket and other sales. This information tremendously emphasises the worrying extreme amounts of struggles that the theatre industry in Northern Ireland faces. Without the Lyric Theatre flourishing, many theatregoers lose their main source of theatrical entertainment. For months previous to the official closures, there was just talk of the upcoming global pandemic, but as cases of the illness rose, on Friday the 13th of March 2020, government officially announced lockdown. This announcement obviously sent the entire world into disarray. But what could they do? COVID had hit, everyone was forced indoors, say goodbye to the normality of everyday human interaction that we once knew. The pandemic has arrived. This also meant saying goodbye to any live in-person entertainment, which obviously included theatre productions. This meant the theatre companies, actors, etc. alike were sent into disarray as they fought to stay afloat and earn a living because, well, what were they meant to do? Work? They couldn't, as they were legally unable to do the job that put money in their pockets and food on the table. But even at a time where the world seemed to have fallen into complete darkness, there always remained a beacon of hope. There was always a ghostlight. A ghostlight has existed in theatre for a long time. It is a single bulb that glows in an empty theatre, lighting the stage of a theatre that would otherwise be in darkness. Whilst researching for this short documentary, I was speaking to my dad, someone who is an actor and saw firsthand how COVID-19 affected the theatre industry in Northern Ireland, and he mentioned the ghostlight. Confused by this, I decided to do some research, and I discovered that
During the COVID-19 pandemic theatre closures, the ghostlight became a symbol of hope to artists during a time of darkness. Although no one was in the theatre for quite some time, the light remained on for their eventual return. Light in the eyes, how to survive, you're a dark.
Despite all of this turmoil, something else began to rise instead: the internet. In late 2019, the social media app TikTok slowly began to have a massive rise in popularity, with TikTok dances and TikTokers like Charlie D'Amelio and Addison Rae. In addition to this, as everyone was forced indoors in March of 2020, many people found that the only way to entertain themselves was via popular streaming services like Netflix or through watching YouTube videos. In addition to this, theatre production companies saw this and knew that they needed to adapt in order to thrive. So they saw this opportunity and put old recordings of their shows onto streaming platforms. Alternatively, some theatre productions also performed their productions either social distance or via Zoom. Fortunately, this idea ended up not only saving theatre during the pandemic, but also innovated digital production and brought the concept of theatre productions to a brand new audience. If people couldn't go and see the theatre productions live and in person, they could instead sit at home and pay to watch them online. Now as we look back 5 years later, with the date of which I'm writing this script being 5 years and 4 days after the pandemic began, even after all of these years, the creative industry has still not recovered. Even back when lockdown began to be lifted in 2021, I remember struggling with my dad in a hotel in November 2021 when my entire family got COVID, having to help him rehearse lines for a play he'd been acting in soon after. And even just tonight, the day of which I'm writing this script, there was a BBC News broadcast at 10 PM on the topic of how the creative industry has still not recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic. But even despite all of these struggles and misfortunes, human interaction and togetherness has always thrived. From during COVID, where people would go on Zoom to talk with one another online, to standing outside, clapping and making signs in support for the NHS workers every evening. And for years to come, it will always continue to thrive, regardless of what occurs. So now that you've heard the story of what occurred, let's hear from the people. In order to aid with the creation of this documentary, I interviewed both students and industry professionals, and this is what they said. This project is all about showcasing and giving creatives a voice that they can project, because this is the untold story of the creative perseverance of the theatre people of Northern Ireland.
I absolutely love my job. From a very young age I wanted to be an actor, so to have the opportunity to continue doing that is literally a dream come true.
Do I enjoy my job? Yes, I do, very much.
Yes, I enjoy my job very much.
I do enjoy my job. I think there's obviously testing things about it at times.
I do enjoy my job. I'd have to, because I've been doing it 20-something, nearly 30 years.
Yes, well, I do enjoy my job as a creative director of a theatre company.
Absolutely. I feel incredibly grateful to be artistic director of a theatre company that has been running in Northern Ireland for 37 years.
I really love the course so far. It's been fantastic. I think I'm just really surprised by how much professional work's in it. Like, I really love how much they prepare you for the industry and how much work goes into kind of creating a whole piece, even like a whole like theatre production. It's really something that I like. Just getting that professional experience, and then everyone's just really nice. And
being able to work with so many artists in Belfast, create so many different development programs for artists to make new work, and I feel such a rewarding part of the job is to see how people create their ideas from an idea straight through to production. You could not beat the feeling you have when you get to experience and see that for yourself.
These days I don't just act, I also write and compose as well. And what I love about that is the variety of creativity in terms of what I do on a daily basis.
I think the most exciting thing is just the buzz of being in front of an audience, the audience's reactions and the sense of achievement at the end.
I enjoy most is communicating with people, interacting with people, and seeing people's faces after we have put so much effort into a theatre production.
And again, I suppose it's the professional development and education work that I really love. I thoroughly enjoy the Graduate Academy and kind of nurturing our local talent, and I love seeing them progress, and so many of them are working in the industry now, and obviously the shows. I love the rehearsal process. Getting a great group of people all on the same page and just figuring it all out. I love that.
But my favourite thing is that we do a lot of fringe turn work, so I get to travel a lot, and I really like that, and I like making friends in different countries.
I think it's really working from scratch. I really like working with, because you're given an idea, like a prompt or anything, and then you have to work with everyone else to create something that you're not like basing it off anything, you're really just going wild with. And I think I like that whole aspect of it. I think even if like we have like clash ideas, I think just to even submit an idea and really work from that, I think is really amazing. Really like it.
It's the variety that appeals to me, the fact that I'm not doing the same thing all of the time. Of course, when you're in a play and you're performing, you are doing the same thing on the face of it, but every audience is different, every performance is different. There are elements that come in and challenge you.
I collaborate with people all the time in terms of the work that I do. I think that brings out the best in the creative process and is essential, that you share your ideas with other people and develop them.
I would always work in collaboration. I don't believe that one person has the answer to everything. So even though the artistic director is kind of seen as the top person in a company in terms of hierarchy, I definitely would not work that way. I believe that everyone is equal in the creative process, and that a good collaboration means that you bring out the best in everybody that works in the company.
I mean, I love working with actors that are up for it, that are going, oh, okay, I like that, and are willing to chip in, and no one's precious. We're in rehearsals at the moment, and the two actors and the creative team and the crew are all up for playing and saying, is that funny? Does that work? What about this? What about that? And so an idea that someone may have starts there and ends up way over there, but I love that.
I really love when an actor comes in with their own ideas. I think that's always really fun, because it's like you get to see the character through a completely different lens and perspective.
Yeah.
I really enjoy being in a rehearsal room. I enjoy meeting other people, bouncing ideas off each other, putting characters together.
The parts I enjoy around the collaborations, we would collaborate sometimes with businesses, and a lot of the people within the businesses have no experience of theatre. So to bring that aspect to the office, and it's really seeing their faces when we can make an impact.
The frustrations I think sometimes in collaboration are, from the point of view of a freelancer who's constantly hunting for funding and support for projects. That can be the most exhausting.
I think sometimes, usually happens in production meetings, I don't know how you feel, but sometimes you'll end up having a conversation for 2 hours about like the most minute little tiny thing.
Yeah.
And that can be really frustrating for me, because I'm very much of the opinion it will be fine and it will get sorted.
Yeah.
Most challenging thing, learning lines is always a bit of a slog. I imagine I've always been very lucky. I've always worked with people I get on with. I've been very lucky. I imagine it would be a bit difficult if you didn't see eye to eye with the director, for example. If you didn't get on with the director, that would be very difficult.
That for me is the gift of collaboration. The challenging part of that, though, is that there is a certain level of obviously ego that's involved in a process. And how are you able to create a space where people come together to serve the idea and the work, rather than thinking, oh, I need to be the best in this, or I need to look good in this, or my work is more important than other people.
I enjoy working with new work, working with writers and directors in creating something new. I'm not drawn so much to existing work because it has been done so much, and you kind of think, well, yeah, that part has been played many, many times, and there are many others that you could be compared to as well. But it's not about that. And there is an element of breaking new ground when you approach even an old play. But I like doing new stuff, particularly about where I live, for the people who live here, because it challenges me and it challenges them. The elements of the collaborative process, as I say, working with writers, working with directors, finding a new way to say things, a new way to present material, and go into areas that perhaps have not been investigated before.
The first theatre production that I can remember watching, the first professional production, was at the Lyric Theatre in Belfast back in 1985. It was a production of Peter Pan, and to be honest with you, it did change my life. I remember that they had the kids in it on wires, so they were flying over the stage, I'd never seen anything like it in my life, and I remember afterwards thinking, I would love to do that.
When I was 6 or so, I think I saw my first theatre production, and as far as I can remember, it was Peter Pan in the lyric, the early 1980s, I would think. I also remember seeing a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream, which the RSC did in the Whitla Hall, and that made a very big impression on me as well. Can't remember which came first.
I remember going to see, was it The Hummingbird? It's a Hans Christian Andersen adaptation, and it was in the Riverside Theatre in Coleraine. And I remember there was a bit where the lights all went out, it was complete blackout, but there was like shadow work being done on a screen. And I was so terrified that I didn't go to a theatre for years.
Wow.
I think I was about 7 or 8 and it was Pinocchio. I remember I'm from Ballymena originally, so we were taken on a school trip to the Riverside Theatre Coleraine to watch Pinocchio. I remember when he was swallowed by the whale, being inside the wheel and what they did with that. It was an English touring company, I think. I'd never seen anything like it. Very inspired. And that put me on the track to try and do something within the performing arts industry.
Mine would be a panto. My family weren't arty in any way. We never went to the theatre. So I remember going with my mum and dad to see, I don't know if it was Puss in Boots with Barbara Windsor, Orville the Duck and the Crankies. And I must have been about, I don't know, 6 maybe.
I mean, growing up I saw a bunch of pantos because we have a theatre in Armagh, and so I saw a few pantos there, but the most notable I can remember is seeing Wicked in the West End when I was 16 and 17, I believe. So like literally months before I started doing performing arts as a career, even like trying to do it in college. I think that really, I fell in love with it, and I loved the set design, I loved the musical numbers, I loved the acting. It was all super fantastic, and I just thought, you know what, I might want to do that. I really want to just be in that industry. It seems really fun, and that's kind of how it progressed from there.
Really interestingly, I did not see theatre until I actually was in a show. We never went to see, we just didn't go to see theatre. It just wasn't a thing that we ever did as a family. I lived in Dundalk when I was younger, so we had a town hall, but there wasn't much on. So my first experience of actually being in theatre was West Side Story, and I played Baby John, and I was 12, and it was from that moment that I began to understand when I was inside the play, what that really felt like.
How old was I when I saw my first theatre production? 17, and it was in the Lyric Theatre in Belfast, and Liam Neeson was the lead role. It was a repertory company that was in the Lyric at the time. It was Colleen Bawn by Boucicault, a Victorian melodrama, and it opened a new world for me, because at that point I hadn't seen live theatre as such, and it was very vibrant and very present, and something that I then felt, although I'd had an idea because we did plays at school and had an opportunity to be in things, that could be a career, and it would be something that I would like to do.
So when Disney Plus came out around that time, I saw Hamilton on it because Hamilton was on Disney Plus during COVID. And honestly, I think it was a unique experience in that sense, because you're not used to seeing a theatre production from a camera perspective, you're more seeing it from the audience perspective. And so to see like all the close-up shots and all the dynamic shots was bizarre, but I thought it was interesting. And I think what I liked about it was definitely the fact that it's more accessible to people. Like I liked how almost if you had the subscription, you could just watch it. But it was definitely a weird experience, but I think it definitely got a lot more people into musical theatre as a whole, I think.
I've seen lots of online productions, particularly during the pandemic where everything went online. Indeed, I've participated in quite a few online productions too. It obviously differs greatly from anything that you're going to see in the flesh in a real space. During the pandemic, I think it was very important, and in fact a lot of the online productions that I saw fed into projects that I was working on myself at the time. It is very important that online productions exist, and indeed actually the National Theatre, you can watch a lot of their big productions online, which I think is brilliant for people who can't make it there in person.
I think during COVID I watched a lot, and I directed a couple as well, and I hated every second of it. I think obviously like the National Theatre kind of things, they're kind of facilitated and made to be watched, but I think a lot of the work that I saw over COVID just made me really sad that we weren't in a theatre, because I remember seeing Father the Father and just wishing that I was sat in front of Abby instead of there being like this weird screen.
Yeah.
And then whenever we were directing, we directed 2 off back to back in the Mac as well actually. We did one called Heave. It was meant to be going on live, but COVID happened and it couldn't. But like, I hated it at the same time. It's like looking back on that, I'm like, if this was live, I do just, like, I think I got into theatre because I like the live experience.
It's that shared experience that we're all, you don't know that person 4 rows back, but they're experiencing the same once in a lifetime opportunity of that moment, you know.
During COVID, yes, I saw one, and I also participated in one as well. It's a very different experience from seeing theatre in person, but as far as I'm concerned, it was a substitute for theatre. It is very much not the real thing. It was very much second best, because it's not theatre, it's not really film or TV either.
Yeah, huge difference. We actually did a performance which I directed called Brenda's Baby back in 2022, and we put that online, and a very powerful piece. Yeah, huge difference, because in theatre you're seeing people's emotions, seeing the whites of people's eyes, the reaction, they become involved in the production. It's a live experience, there's nothing like that. Whereas online, it's it happens in the moment, and then it goes to editing, and there's a process of waiting until that product is complete, which can be quite frustrating as an actor, I think, because you don't know what the end product's going to be like. Whereas in the rehearsal room, when you're creating a theatre piece, you can see it develop, and you're part of that collaborative process. So totally different. Obviously with something online, it's TV, film, so the discipline is quite different there, where there's a lot of close-up shots in TV. Vocally, you have to bring everything down on TV and film, whereas theatre, you can go to town. It's much more vocal, much more expressive, much more of a physical aspect to it. So yeah, 2 different mediums, but both equally enjoyable.
Mine neither. We were doing Mojo Mickey Bo, and it was straight out of lockdown, or we were just tentatively coming out of lockdown, and we recorded it in the Lyric, and we had lots of different cameras. We had a bird's eye, and so that was fascinating for me, because I was in with the cinema director, the film guy, and he was going, okay Lisa, you just tell me what camera to go to, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or something. And Mojo Mickey Bo is a very, very fast piece, and it's here, there and everywhere, and I'm like, wait, stop, I don't know, this is not what we signed up for, we need to go, if we're doing that, we need to, but I think they kind of understood the piece enough that they were able to do that, and we did loads of takes, all in one go, and I was happy enough with it, because I think it was the nearest to actual theatre that we got, and tried to, but we didn't change anything. We didn't have Mojo looking into the camera and doing the narration. We didn't do any of that. We actually, we tried it a bit, and then it was like, no, this is meant for theatre, this is just a recording of a theatre piece, and that's where we were happiest with.
Anything like that is good, I think. It makes it more accessible. The National Theatre stuff, which is, they obviously have the budgets to do it. That is fantastic. Give me the opportunity to see so many National Theatre plays that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to see. And they're very well filmed. They're a different animal. It's not the immediacy of live theatre, but I don't think it'll ever replace live theatre. And I don't think live theatre will suffer because of it. Certainly not in its present form. I saw Bruiser Theatre Company's Mojo Mickey Bo was done online. The Lyrics football play, which I should remember immediately, by Tarlin O'Neill. But some of them, because they didn't have the big budget, or they weren't filmed, they weren't filmed by people who have done it regularly, didn't work just as well. But they were, as I say, they're a different animal anyway. I think the National Theatre at home is the closest we'll get to that theatrical experience. And the first few that I saw, it was quite peculiar, because you kind of wanted to, should we clap? You should be stand up. People are going to the toilet, why are they moving? But then you think, well, they can't see you, so it's okay. It was a different animal, but I welcome the digital stuff.
So, I trained at the Lecoq School in Paris, which is very much about getting the audience to use their imagination and very much a physical theatre process. So it was all about kind of just using the body to tell a story and actually focusing less on text as well. So I was really surprised when obviously COVID came along and we were all then instantly, in our homes, and we all wanted to continue making work, but obviously with the social distancing and the rules, etc., we weren't able to do that. So to suddenly shift your minds into a digital landscape, it actually felt really easy because it's the same thing, it's the same process, it's the same sense of play and creativity. It just has a slightly different feeling because you're not in front of an audience. But the same qualities of theatre making exists in the online digital world. And so I think it will never replace live theatre, but I think it's really exciting now that we are trying to bring both of them together. And trying to bring both of them together in a way that allows the liveness of theatre to be complemented by the digital, I think is a really exciting way to go.
Personally, I guess initially in the pandemic, in the same way as a lot of people, I had gone to work at the start of the pandemic, starting work on a new play, and then all of a sudden that wasn't happening.
We had loads of lovely touring opportunities, like I was meant to be going to a children's festival in Chile, and we were meant to be doing Edinburgh that year, and all of that just disappeared. But it was tough, lost all of my work and ended up in a coffee shop doing takeaway orders.
All my work was cancelled. There was a play I was about to be in which was cancelled, never to return. I did different jobs, classroom assistant, working in tourism, and I have kept that on to the present day.
So I was in high school when COVID started, like last year high school is when it happened, and education-wise it was kind of rough because, you're constantly online classes, having to do a lot from home. And I think as well, definitely around near the end of COVID, I got COVID myself and it was an absolute nightmare, but I think just, it helped in the sense of I got to try new things, I got to, do voiceover, I got to play more games, I got to be with my family more, so I thought, in that sense, I thought it was kind of good, but at the same time, I think it just differs on each person. I thought it was kind of, at the time, a bit of a scary situation, but other than that, it's...
I think it's changed a lot actually. I think it's changed a lot of the art ecology. I think one thing that became really clear to me was that the interdependency of people as people working and living together, but also the theatre is such a collaboration. There's an interconnectedness that's there with theatre and with live performance that actually, when COVID took that away from us, it became really clear that how much we depend on other people to make work and to be together.
COVID affected us a lot. We had premises at the time and box office, everything stopped, all the theatres shut, but we still had overheads coming in. So we had to make a call to close the space down we were working in once that happened. It was a very difficult time, but we had to make that decision quite quickly.
Where I was affected, everyone was affected by COVID to some degree. I think we were all locked down for an extended period. I was very lucky because I have made a reasonable living over the years and I don't cheat on my taxes in any way. So when they gave out kind of assistance grants that matched what you'd been earning, I was able to access a few grants along the way that kept me afloat, kept me going. I worked during it, I wrote some stuff. It affected me in a positive way. I would say, let me kind of recharge my batteries as well. And very fortunately, I didn't get COVID till about 18 months after everybody else. Everything shut down, and that included the theatre. And, with no income and generation being happening, that pushed people out of the business as well. They had to find other work. The very resourceful ones managed to get through and are back in the business. Others, I think, weren't able to survive it and have had to take other work, and they're now trapped, or they're kind of getting regular incomes, so they don't want to come back into the business.
Virtual theatre productions during COVID, yes.
So the arts industry was rocked by it. Theatre doors closed. I was supposed to be going to New York with a play. That never happened. I was going into rehearsals for a show at the Lyric when the pandemic hit. We did one day of rehearsals and then the doors shut and we never saw that production again either. I then, when theatre doors did open again, and in 2021 I did a Christmas show at the Lyric, I got COVID at the end of week 1 of rehearsals and then had to rehearse from home with everyone else in the rehearsal room and me on my laptop learning choreography and learning the moves from the comfort of my own home.
We had done one day of rehearsals for 1984, which was a big thing for Bruiser and the Lyric as a co-pro. We were all super excited about it. I remember walking out going, oh, I've got to go and meet Jimmy, but sure, I'll go through these notes tomorrow. It's like a horror film. You should never say, I'll be right back. It was Paddy's Day the day after, and we had a meeting and we'd let everyone have that day off and just realised that everything was going to shut, so we might as well cut our losses and do the right thing, because we never got back in the room. It was like a death. Losing 1984, and people kept leaving flowers at my door as well because I was so excited about it. So it was like, once I got over that trauma and then realised, okay, get a bit of perspective, Lisa. Alright.
So the legacy of that is that I've kind of continued. I've gone in a slightly different direction. I'm working in tourism part-time on a casual basis, but I have been able to get back to working in the arts as well.
So by being affected by COVID, it's changed the landscape for me a lot. It also became really clear about hierarchy within the arts, and one thing that I found quite hard was I was really lucky because I was on a salary, but I knew so much of the freelance art sector lost their work, and I just found that top to bottom kind of tiered system of being on a salary, working in the arts, and then being a freelancer and doing so much work, and all of a sudden that being taken away from you. I felt like that was a really important thing to look at as an arts sector, and how to ensure that if something like that happens again, that we have the right measures set up to make sure that everyone is safe and also protected financially.
It was a challenging time for everyone. We got some emergency support from the Arts Council, so we were able to kind of sit back a little bit and think about what the next moves are for the company and for me as an individual artist. So that time was very important to reflect.
Do you feel as though you are well supported financially in your work environments, and do you feel as though there is enough support in place for young creators?
No and no. So I run a very young company, and our company has yet to receive any funding within the UK or Northern Ireland. No, actually that's not true. We did get some funding last year from London. That's not right. It was a theatre company. We're giving out small bursaries. The LED Award, it's a great award, you should think about it. But I've never received any Arts Council funding that's been from either the north of Ireland or the UK. We have, however, got a lot of support from Culture Ireland, and a lot of support from development initiatives like the Make bursary. I was part of the Duets programme, but all of that has come from Dublin. None of that has come from up here. And we often work our shows and develop our shows and premiere our shows in Dublin because there's a support network and a structure to do that, and we don't often premiere shows here, which is quite tricky. I worked a part-time job up until last year, and this is my 10th year working in the industry. So for half of my time, it's taken me 10 years to be able to sustain myself financially. And I've worked some terrible jobs in order to do that. I think it's, at the moment as well, in particular, I feel like it's getting harder and harder for people to kind of break into it, which is a very bleak answer.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's funny you should say that. When Bruiser started, it was 10 years until we got annual funding, a little bit of annual funding that allowed us to pay quite poorly our company manager at the time and give him like hours, and I was still paid on if I do the Graduate Academy I get a bit of money there, or if I direct the play I'd maybe get a bit of money there, but it was all then we were annually funded and we kind of climbed the ladder on that. And then in 2018, because the Arts Council didn't have any money, and because of all the cuts, they cut us entirely from the AFP, the annual funding programme. Still very bitter. But, and it really makes you take stock and go, okay, where do we go now, you know, but it was an absolute nightmare, and we limped on, and we've grown and we've developed, and at what cost, I don't know. Lots of sleepless nights and lots of 100-hour weeks.
And unpaid work.
And so much unpaid work to get it back to where it was and moving forward. So,
well, no doubt about it, when you talk about funding within the arts, it's a very difficult question. And particularly in Northern Ireland, the per capita spend in this country is considerably less than it is in England, Scotland and Wales, and indeed in the south of Ireland as well, where they're in a much stronger position than we are. So we always kind of feel in the north like we have our backs against the wall when it comes to funding. To answer the question as to whether or not I feel supported, I think at times I do, when you're developing a project and you can work your way through the channels to get to the magic door that opens to give you some funding. Inevitably, on the other side of that door, you do find people that are very open to what you're doing. We spend a lot of time filling out application forms, which isn't the best, I think, use of our time, but it's a necessary evil. I think that a lot more could be done in this country to support the arts. You know, politically it's a difficult sell, but you know, ministers that are dishing out the cash watch programmes on Netflix in the same way as we all do. All of the Irish actors that you'll see on TV and film will have started in some way, shape or form back in the day in, you know, local theatre, for example. And I think that shouldn't be forgotten. What we learn as actors when we train, and how we then bring that forward within professional theatre and TV and film and radio, and to help people on that journey, I think is vitally important for politicians to acknowledge.
So during COVID, I actually felt we did get quite a bit of support. Infamously, Northern Ireland has the lowest spending per head on the arts anywhere in the UK. And it is clearly not sufficient for young people coming in. I don't think there is enough support in place at all for young creatives or anybody else.
Do you feel as though there is enough support in place for young creatives going into the industry, etc.?
I definitely think so. I think that because with the success of shows like Game of Thrones and Dairy Girls in Northern Ireland, we're getting more and more courses and more learning opportunities for performing arts and just acting in general. And I think not even just that, just the creative industry. I think there's so much that it's offering now to young people, and I think even there's more smaller areas that are willing to do it, like just as a hobby or just for fun. And there's a lot of ways you can go about creative media, and I think just anyone can do it. And I think it's really cool that there's so many opportunities now that people can do it.
So after all of that, I want to leave you with one message. I urge you to seek out community, to care for your loved ones, to join drama clubs, to make music, and to showcase your creativity to the world. Because regardless of what occurs, theatre will always thrive. Because theatre is not just a building nor a stage, it is people, it is passion, and it is pure human perseverance. And no matter the circumstances, no matter the circumstances, there will always be a ghostlight. Finally, this entire documentary is my own personal love letter to theatre, and so during the interviews I asked one last question. Last but not least, are you a part of any upcoming projects that you'd like to shout out, or any organisations or charities that you know that you'd like to urge anyone that watches this to go and support? Because theatre is more than just performance, it's the people behind it. This is what they said, and I urge you to support them. Keep
Ghostlight, Bernie.
Yes, we are a charity ourselves, so you can come and support us. We're also working closely with a couple of deaf charities at the moment, so that's very exciting. Since NI is a charity, that's SENSENI, a deaf-blind charity who we've been working with in the last few weeks, who are doing amazing work, so you might want to check them out. So some of the other, we're a big part of the deaf community now as well. I learned sign language myself so that I can communicate with the deaf artist in the rehearsal room, so that's been very, very exciting. And I know there are a few deaf charities that work with children with who have issues with hearing, either born deaf or have become deaf in later stages of their life. So it might be worth checking some of those out.
I have so many shows I'd love to promote.
Go plug.
I'll plug them all. So our company has 3 shows on the go at the moment, so that's why I look like this. We have a Shame Show, which is all about what it is to be a queer person in a rural area, and it's all about the debate of whether you should leave your home if it's not accepting, or whether you should stay to make it better, and how queer people are forced to make that unfair choice. But it is a sketch comedy, very fun, very uplifting. We try to leave people on a high, and that will be part of the Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival. It will be, oh goodness, dates. I think it's the first week of May. It's in the MAC. But double check that. And then we have Anthem for Dissatisfaction, which is all about how important music is for young working class people, and it will be in the MAC in sometime in June. I should have got dates for this. And then we are developing a new show called Shown Symptoms on a Tangent, which is all about what you can joke about and what you can't joke about in stand-up comedy clubs. It's a very meta experience, and I don't think you'll have time because I'm doing it at Incubate, the Incubate Festival from Tinderbox on Saturday, but we will be coming back with it in late May. So if you want to follow the Skelpy Liver Instagram account, all of that information will be coming up and popping up there.
Wow, you're busy.
Too much.
I'll just flog Murder for Two, Bruiser and Matt co-production, which is insane. It's very, very funny, and lots of music and dance and crazy characters and a great night out, and that's opening on the 24th of April in the MAC and then off on tour. So all our stuff is on the Bruiser website, which is bruisertheatrecompany.com. Also, Summer School's Graduate Academy. If you're interested in pursuing a career in the arts, just get in touch and we'll get back to you.
I would like to give a quick shout out to New Lodge Arts, who do brilliant work in the community. I work for them. And shout out for Snow White, which is coming to the theatre in Larne this Christmas, so I better give a shout out for that.
Well, within Cirque, I'm currently acting in short films for some of the media students, so if possible, check out those. Those are a really fun experience I've had so far, and I really love doing them, and I think they're going to turn out amazing. If anyone watching is from Armagh, I'm an independent. I'm an independent for the Armagh City Council. We do massive events like Georgian Day, where we will promenade around town as Georgian era people. And so it's a great way to learn about the history of Armagh through the Georgian era, and you'll just get to talk with people in character, and there's a lot of fun experiences like horse and carriage riding, getting to seal wax. It's really fun. I do that every year. It's pretty fun. It's in November, I believe, so it's pretty fun experience. And then also we do ghost tours, so basically if you want to get scared on Halloween, that's something we do as well around the church and all that. It's pretty fun. And we also do murder mysteries as well, which I have not yet been in myself, but they happen around the same time in December, as near enough to the ghost tours and Georgian Day. So it's really 3 months in Armagh where just a lot of fun stuff happens, and I really recommend people see it, because this earlier this year it was a massive turnout. People loved it, and I think if we can get a more wider audience, it'd be amazing.
I mentioned it before, but I'm across a project at the moment called Storymakers, developing stories and poems and setting them to music and working with other artists. across them. So I'd probably give a shout out for that. It's called the Storymakers Project, Richard Clements. You'll see it on the NI Screen digital archive website, and we're looking forward to taking that into a second phase this year. I'm also currently developing a play about a long forgotten blues singer from here called Ottilie Patterson, which we're hoping to get to a stage this year. And outside of that, I'm hoping to develop a new one-man show, which hopefully will hit the stage next year.
Last but not least, upcoming projects. Yes, we have our Incubate Festival on the 5th of April, and then we have 2 productions coming up. We have The Upside Down House, which is a play by Kieran Haggerty, which will be in the Belfast Festival in October this year, and then we're doing a production of Animal Farm in the Mac main stage in 2026. And I think check out the Theatre Dance and I website, because they kind of have like this easy where you can get to see lots of other people who are making work, lots of opportunities. I always check that website out every couple of days because it kind of gives you a sense of what's happening in the sector. There's lots happening. I think we are in a very exciting phase because there are challenges with funding, there are challenges with how we're going to make work in the future, but I think we're all in this together.
Well, I would say go and see things. Whatever's on, go and see it. Should it be the local Amdram up the road? Because amateurs do it for the love of it, they don't do it for money. And the amateur scene here is really good. And there are people here who could technically have been professional if they'd decided to starve and not be able to pay a mortgage and not have a job that allows them to do that. And for the love of it, the amateur scene, particularly the festivals, do extraordinary stuff. Then, of course, there are all the various theatre companies that are in Ireland. Get to know who they are, go and see them. Go and see Druid when you can. Go and see the Abbey, go and see the Gate. Go and see the Lyric, see Bruiser, see Tinderbox, see Prime Cut. You know, these and that's just off the top of my head, and some of the ones that I've been fortunate enough to work with. Support the theatre, support the arts, go and see stuff. Yeah, I don't want to particularly promote anything of mine just at the moment. I'm not 100% sure what exactly I'm doing, and some of it I can't talk about because it hasn't been announced yet. But don't sit and watch Netflix. Go and see the live stuff.
I tell them that we're complete, although we lost a lot. What box do I tick for unique when I know we're not? An image now shrouded in judgment that's paper thin, documents simmering, but I know everything will be right under the glow of the Ghostlight.